Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Stuff You Should Know with me, your host. In the past decades, we have seen rural areas decline and urbanization of big cities grow very large. My name is Ross, and I am excited to present to you Urban Sprawl, the movement of people to urbanized areas in America. It is no surprise if I told you today 80.7% of the United States population lived in urban areas according to the 2010 census. The United States is one of the most urbanized nations in the world. It was not always like this, though. America was once a mostly rural agriculture country, but certainly America's priorities have shifted over time. Let's start out with some background. The context of the word urban has shifted over the years. Where you and me today might think of a city like Dallas-Fort Worth with a population of 6.3 million to be urban, in the 1910s, the minimum population threshold to be categorized as an urban place was set at 25,000. Definitely our growing populations and urban sprawl has redefined our perspective on the word urban. In the 1950s, the United States Census Bureau revised the urban definition to include the urbanized area concept. This accounted for the suburban areas outside the city with a population of 50,000 or more. A decade later, they included a population density threshold of at least 1,000 people per square mile for urbanized areas. Compared to New York in 2016, around 50,000 people exist per square mile, which is the highest in the United States currently. As you can see, urban is a relative term changing through time and societies in American history. The same can also be said for rural areas, as the maximum capacity of rural areas around a century ago would be too small for today's standards. Today, the United States Census Bureau defines rural as any population, housing, or territory not in an urbanized area. For consistency, I will use these terms urban and rural respectively to the time period. Today, we have many urban cities overflowing with people, coming from an increase in urban sprawl. Urban sprawl has many causes for why urban areas are getting larger, and also have many effects on what happens when so many people are in a very dense area. Urbanized areas in the United States have been growing exponentially from urban sprawl. With new developments in medicine, life expectancy and birth rates have skyrocketed in the past century, which means all the people living in urban areas are living longer and having more kids, causing the urban population to increase. Today, the population breakdown looks like this. 46 million Americans live in the nation's rural counties, 175 million live in the suburbs and small metros, while 98 million live in the urban core, according to the Pew Research Center. Living in the suburbs near a big city brings you in close proximity to everything the city brings. There are more opportunities for higher jobs and wages. This attracts many people from rural residents and immigrants to compete for these jobs. With a majority of Americans owning cars in the United States, crafting roads strategically for urban development, automobiles play a crucial role in urban sprawl. Because urban sprawl development patterns are pushing suburbs farther out from the city, residents with inner-city jobs take their cars on the highway to go to their jobs. This forces you and your family to live in a suburb area if you have an inner-city job, so you can drive to and from work, further increasing population density. Urban sprawl has caused urban areas' population to increase, with factors like jobs and suburban development. In New York, one of the cities with concentrated employment patterns, over 45% of the jobs are within 3 miles of the city center. Bookings.edu. Most other cities are like this, with most of the jobs existing within a few miles of the city center. People tend to be densely populated in the urban and suburban areas. Suburban area developers know how many city workers will want to live outside the city, so they build many neighborhoods and homes. Approximately 80% of the acreage used for recently constructed housing in the United States is land outside of urbanized areas, Heimlich and Anderson, 2001. With new homes being built along the outskirts of the city, more and more people will move out there, have kids, further increasing the population density. Urban sprawl has affected urban areas by impacting the environment with pollution and our health. With so many people living in close proximity to each other, disease is easily spread. We see this with the current coronavirus epidemic going on right now. Also, urban metropolis cities emit a lot of air pollution. One third of death from stroke, lung cancer, and heart disease are due to air pollution, according to the World Health Organization. Living in these cities give you a higher risk of death by these illnesses. The amount of cars going into the city and many factories pumping harmful chemicals into the air is dangerous. The conjugation of many people in an urban area kills people in the long term, but it does not only affect humans. With fossil fuel consumption being at an all-time high, it is driving the climate change crisis. Consuming fossil fuels, we see an uptick in our global average temperature, which can lead to some pretty scary environmental effects. The ice caps are melting on both poles of the Earth, causing a lot of habitat loss for polar ecosystems. Many urban cities are located along waterways with sensitive ecosystems. Many pollutants flow into the water from the city, making the rivers full of trash and chemicals. These rivers flow down to the ocean, where sensitive sea life are exposed to the chemicals, causing a disturbance in our ocean. Urban sprawl is something we need to pay attention to in our world. The drawing factors of urban sprawl have sprung many negative effects for ourselves and the environment. Urban sprawl has brought many good opportunities for millions of people in the United States, but when urban sprawl gets too large, like it has for the decades, dire consequences can occur. Urban sprawl does not look like it's going to stop anytime soon. We need to be educated of the effect it has for everything on the environment and our people. Anyways, that's the end of the show. It was a pleasure to share this information with you. I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening.